Hello and welcome to GPTV on Tuesday, the 10th of August. My name is Philip Kingston.
And I'm Gary Pierre. It's a big day, Phil.
Gary, I'm going to jump straight into this because your father, may his dear soul rest in peace, and my father, who is very much with the world today, your father's birthday today, and my father is turning 90 today, Gary. A very happy birthday to my father, David, who is a long-watching and long-suffering viewer of GPTV. But he's turning 90 today, Gary. Dropped in there yesterday with Irene to say hello and got engaged in a political discussion with him. This man is a beacon for those that wonder about aging because he's physically well and he is mentally as sharp as anybody could possibly be. So I'm just hoping, Gary, that I've got his gene pool.
He is a rock solid fellow, Phil, 90 years old. He is a marvel and happy birthday, David. I wish you good health for many years to come. I'm sure you'll get that letter from the Queen in 10 years. Not that I'm sure you'll be awaiting it or wanting it, but you know, you get the 100 years. You get lots of mail, Phil, from the Queen. You get it from I think you get it from the Prime Minister and the Premier. And I know that I kept cheering my parents on in their 90s to get that correspondence from those world leaders, but sadly they didn't stay around for that long. But they did get into the 90s. So a blessing to be at 90 and be the incredible inspiration that your father is. So happy birthday, David Kingston.
I spoke to him often, of course, but I spoke to him last Friday. This is the Friday pre-lockdown. And viewers will remember Friday was a horrible day, hailing and raining. And I spoke to my father at about 11 o'clock and he said, look, I can't talk to you. I'm soaking wet. And I said, why are you soaking wet? And he says, well, I'm playing golf and it's been pouring and thundering and hailing. And I said, well, why are you playing in that weather? And he just answered me, well, why wouldn't I?
Exactly right. Exactly right. Why wouldn't he be? They don't make them like they used to. Those 10th of August babies, Phil, all those years ago, they were tough and amazing that our dads share that birthday. But yeah, he is amazing. Phil, let's get on to real estate matters because there are some interesting matters. And of course, there is this wonderful meme that's been going around where we've got, and we'll show it in a second, where the real estate agent is saying, showing someone a home and saying, could you see yourself quarantining here or in isolation here? It's no longer a case of could you see yourself living here, it's could you see yourself locked down here. So we are in lockdown, Melbourne, and of course three states, so more than half of Australia is now officially in lockdown, Phil. We're all a little bit like naughty criminals out on parole when we get out of lockdown, just waiting to get sent back in again. And we are back in again, Phil, in lockdown. And these lockdowns, they are driving me and everybody else, I'm sure, mad. But that's the deal, isn't it?
Well, go on, Australia, stand in a queue and get vaccinated because the sooner we can get to 70%, Gary, the sooner theoretically we've got an ability to get out of this constant lockdown. But I've got to tell you, Gary, I'm a bit sick of all of the politicians and all of the media referring to this Delta virus. Like, let's call this virus for what it is. It's not Delta virus. I mean, what stupidity. I mean, we talk about Scotty being Scott Morrison, Scotty from marketing on the Batuta Advocate, but who in the marketing department of viruses called it the Delta virus? This virus really should be known as I'm going to virus. Now, clearly they beeped that word out, but that's what it is. I mean, this is not a Delta virus. It's not an R26531 virus. It's I'm gonna virus.
Well, Phil, as you would know, a lot of things, a lot of sort of superhero themes have come through this lockdown. We've got the Ring of Steel, we've got the Delta virus, we've got all these kind of terms that relate to, kind of Marvel. It's almost like Marvel is running the terms of this virus, Phil. And look, the Delta virus is is a different virus, they say, but the reality is that this is where we find ourselves. We're in lockdown. And I've got to say, Phil, as real estate agents, and this is a real estate show, we tend to be very, very able to deal with these challenges, Phil, which is evidence on the weekend, some great auctions on Zoom, some sales, of course, pre-auction, some sales post-auction. So somehow the machine just keeps grinding, sort of like it's kind of like a four-wheel drive through a muddy road, Phil. We're just grinding on through. There's mud flying around us everywhere, but we're still making ground and getting through. How is it so?
Well, Gary, we had a massive week last week. Whilst we didn't have a huge number of auctions, we did have 8 auctions and we sold 8 out of 8 for 100% clearance against the industry average. Towers up as we speak. Industry average was 74%. We came screaming through at 100%. Including quite a number of Zoom auctions. We snuck an auction in, of course, Gary, Thursday night pre-lockdown. It was an advertised auction at 6:30 p.m. and we did have a number of buyers that said to us, look, can you run a quick auction? Because if the auction starts late and we get home late, we'll have broken the curfew. We said, don't worry about that. We'll take as long as is necessary to grind out the absolute last dollar for the vendor, of which we did, Gary, because this was an auction at 123 Bambra Road, Caulfield, where we had a reserve which we just smashed. And I must say, it was a great auction because we had the fire going in the lounge room. Everybody was masked up, of course, but that was our last auction in person before we hit Zooms on Saturday and Sunday. Where we had the most huge numbers of participants on Zoom. So I think, Gary, we've all learned something as an industry that it doesn't matter what happens in the world, people are obsessed by real estate.
Does lockdown increase prices, Phil? Is this whole effect of lockdown actually having a positive spin on the market? Because it kind of feels like it's almost like, you know, people want something that they can't get. And of course, when you can't go out freely and buy and you're kind of a bit held back, maybe that's actually increasing people's appetite, because some of the results that we had last week, Phil, they were staggering, really. There was and 123 Bambra Road. And of course, a shout out to the vendor and apologies to the vendor, Phil, because, you know, you said on the GPTV last week, you know, you said, oh, well, if you get pulled up by the police and you've had a few drinks and they say, where do you live? And you say 123, you thought that was witty and humorous, but the vendor didn't. In fact, took a little exception to it, Phil.
Really?
Yeah, but, you know, I'm sure in the nicest possible way. And given that you've got many hundreds of thousands of dollars running a great auction there over the even upper expectation of the vendor, I think you might be forgiven. But still, you know, we want to shout out to that vendor and say sorry for any potential upset on the GPTV review of your property.
Well, he is a lovely guy, Gary, and I'm somewhat speechless to think that he would be upset with anything that I had to say.
Well, there you go. There you go. You just keep sort of going on your very business, not looking behind you, but there often is a trail of destruction that you're not always aware of, Phil. But it's all good because at the end of the day, some great results. Now, 12 Kangaroo Road, that was auctioned, Zoom auction, Phil, and that one hopped out at $1,240,000, which was good. 435 Hawthorne Road sold before auction. Phil, Wraith Court also sold before auction, and that was sold for $612,000. Viv Samuel got some images of all these places. We're talking about them. And 2 at 112 Orrong Road, Elsternwick and Seymour Road, well, that sold for an unprecedented record price, Phil. Was just completely unexpected to get that sort of result. But that can happen.
Beautiful real estate though, Gary. So I think that anytime we have something that is truly extraordinary, it's more likely than not to, you know, to set new prices. You say it's a record price, and it is, but ultimately it is just the most fantastic piece of real estate. And, you know, fantastic real estate will always attract multiple bidders. We had, I think, about 9 people on our Zoom auction bidding for that. And we had some 70 odd people that joined the Zoom auction. So I think I'm going to have to invest in a bit better equipment than we've had, Gary, because obviously I was sitting at home with, I had a laptop and another screen going for that auction, but I think I need a big, massive 100-inch television, Gary, on the wall, which of course I will put through the business as a business expense, because obviously as a premier Zoom auctioneer, Gary, I need the latest equipment.
Look, that result was, as I said, off the charts. And look, how can you estimate, you know, what sort of premiums you're going to get for properties that are just absolutely overrun with people interested? And you look at the CIV, you look at the comparable sales, and things still run away like, you know, like a runaway train. So anyway, well done
and just in conclusion to that, Gary, incredible property. You know, if you think about the top 5% of properties, and I would put that in the category of the top 5% of properties for its product type. The top 5% of properties are always going to set, we call them records, but really it's like to use the Olympic high jump bar, you know, you just keep raising the bar. Extraordinary properties do that. So, you know, at an Olympic high jumping session, you know, they set new records, and then that becomes the figure that becomes what you've got to jump over. So I know that sounds kind of quite confusing, and I'm somewhat confused myself, but the reality is good property will always set new benchmarks.
And unprecedented prices, Phil, cannot be predicted or quoted either. You know, that's
correct, Gary. Absolutely.
And you look at the, you know, the council rates and the evidence, the results completely different. But again, a unique property, and that's what can happen. So, Phil, getting back to my question, you know, have these lockdowns and these circumstances we're in actually led to an increase in values?
Well, I think that I would clearly say that anything that has got a land component to it, land has always been the fundamental value of property. So if you think about it, you know, land appreciates over time, buildings depreciate over time, but land ultimately is the store of all real estate wealth. And I think that buyers are starting to become very clear about the fact that they're now valuing the purchase of something with a land component really strongly. You've got people that for the first times in their lives have really felt the urge to have a garden in which to sit in. And if you think about up until pre-COVID times, Gary, we were a society of eating breakfast out, lunch out, dinner out, going for walks, walking the streets, going to our parks. But now people are seeking refuge in their home because they have to. So they're absolutely much more aware of needing land. So anything with land is now just foremost of people's mind.
Same thing, I think, about you know, apartments with courtyards. I mean, that's another thing that's sort of gone up a lot. I think a lot of people are thinking, well, if I'm going to be in this confined space, then, gee, I want to get a bit of outside area. So people are paying a premium for that as well. So, you know, as I said, you look back to that meme about that, you know, that sales lady saying, you know, could you see yourself isolated here? I've got to say that I think actually maybe there's some truth in that joke. My father, who, you know, would have been 105, I think it is today, Phil. He did say every joke has got a bit of truth to it. And I think that joke has got some truth to it. The isolation factor, the quarantining factor, that people are thinking about their homes differently to ever before. Before it was about convenience, getting in, going out, travelling around, you know, sleeping, occasionally entertaining. Now it's about actually staying in your home. And who knows how long these lockdowns are going to continue. They feel like they're forever, Phil. And gee, I wouldn't mind going overseas sometime, getting some travel in.
Well, I don't think you're going to be going overseas for quite some time. I think that we will work our way through this. The science is unfolding virtually daily, weekly, monthly. But I think it may well be 2023 before the world truly starts to open up. Having said that, you know, you look at the images of Europe. Europe has definitely opened up. I think that the travel between borders now is getting back to where it was. So who knows? But
how would you be
vaccinated?
How would you be, you know, in Bali or some other place, and all of a sudden you go there for a beautiful holiday, you end up getting struck with COVID, and you're in one of those countries that, you know, certainly don't have the health system that we're used to or we have in Australia. How are you going to be with something like that? And they're the sort of things you've got to think about, I suppose, Phil. Even if the world was open up, you know, do you want to go through some exotic country and end up with COVID there? I'm not so sure that's a great look, Phil, but gee, it would be good to get into some sun at least. It feels like it's been relentless, and I know that people are getting a bit pissy, people are getting angry, people are getting anxious. We're all very tested, Phil, including people in the real estate industry, you know. I mean, we're pretty happy-go-lucky people, but I tell you what, it's been pretty testing, isn't it? All these lockdowns and these restrictions, Phil. We don't like restrictions to our freedoms, Phil. We want to be free, out and about, frolicking in the park, having fun, clicking our heels, running around, at the beach. Anyway, getting carried away. Phil, let's talk about some of the other things that are going on in the world of real estate. We've got quite a few auctions set up for this year. This weekend. Sorry, a lot for set up this year. But this weekend, we've got quite a few auctions set up, Phil. A lot of these are going to get postponed and pushed out because they haven't had the traditional lead-up time, Phil, that most properties have. So I think we can review the properties, but I think I would have to say to viewers, keep a bit of a watch out on the auction times because they're going to change.
Without question, Gary, let's have a look at this weekend because theoretically this weekend we've got quite a busy weekend.
We have, Phil. Do we also think that we are challenging the thinking, by the way, and I'm going to throw this out there. The traditional period of auction, Phil, was always 3 weekends of inspections, the auction in the 4th weekend. Now, we are now seeing an increased amount of properties going to the market with just 2 weeks and the auction in the 3rd week. They're selling successfully. Could that be the future, Phil? Is there any thought around that?
Well, Gary, if you think about it, when we first got into real estate, the campaign period was a 5-week period. It was 4 full weekends with the auction in the 5th weekend. So I think probably about 20 years ago, it dropped from 5 to 4. So 3 being, of course, as you described, 3 weekends with the auction in the 4th weekend. So you're suggesting perhaps, will we end up at 2 weekends with the auction in the 3rd weekend? It's interesting. I'm undecided on this at the moment, but I think that the reason I'm undecided is because I think that when we do truly open up again, I think that people will be finding so much to do with their weekends that we won't see the focus that people have got on real estate like we see at the moment. So I'm not sure. There is an argument, both for and against.
Now I'm going to flip the other side of the argument, Phil, and say that, you know, in those old days where you used to have properties open for 4 weeks and the auction the 5th week, you needed a lot of time to get information, Phil. Today, there's so much information online. There's photos, there's video, there's floor plans, there's imagery, there's maps, there's, you know, what are the closest schools. There's all sorts of information that wasn't available before. So is it possible, Philip? And as somebody that's a bit more tech savvy than I am, I don't mind saying, I'll throw you that. Is it possible that because people can look things up and see so much online that they don't need to see the property as many times as before, given that they can gather that information?
I think there is something real here. There's no question that if we just analyse our campaigns over the last few years, we've often seen week 1 being the busiest week, week 2 being also a busy week, with really not a lot of interest in the 3rd weekend. So there's really a strong argument that the 3rd weekend is a bit of a waste of time. So, you know, I think that the campaigns that we've already run, where it has been a 3-weekend campaign, 2 weekends, auction 3rd weekend. We've been doing that for years, if you think about it, because we get into December and parts of late November where that's been the only available campaign length of time because we run into Christmas. They've always been successful. So I can tell you, I reckon if post-lockdown, we turned a key and every single agency went to 2 weekends plus the auction in the 3rd weekend, I think the market would completely adjust quickly around it. So I think it's entirely feasible, entirely possible.
Now, Phil, before we get into the auctions, I also want to talk about the fact that we've heard, I keep getting that, I don't know how to turn my emails off. This is one of those technical problems, Phil. That's why those noises are coming through, that little bing. We have heard from the media this week, Phil, about our story, which was picked up and run with, the story about can a street's name affect its value? So we did hear from the media, the same media that actually ran something on that, Phil. And I think the ghost story, Phil, the story about do you disclose whether there's a ghost in the house, that's getting some legs as well. And I believe Consumer Affairs have been brought in to question around that, their view on does a ghost in a house need to be disclosed? Now, this is very difficult because, you know, you're talking about, and we need to get some legal advice and some paranormal expertise around this, Phil, advice around the paranormal, which is a term I was thinking of last week. Phil, this is going to be a burning issue. You know, people with ghosts in their house, unless the ghost follows them around, it remains in the house. It's only a matter of time before somebody starts screaming down their corridor, running out the door when they've seen or heard their first ghost and wants to sell, and they're going to go back and say to the real estate agent or vendor, "You never told me about that ghost." What are we going to do about this?
Well, Gary, I think that if you think about it, the vendor statement, which is the document that's prepared by the vendor for the purchaser, where all points under Section 32 of the Sale of Land Act must be disclosed. So you get a council certificate, you get a water rate certificate, you see the title, you see whether there's any easements or covenants. I can see Consumer Affairs, Gary, because let's face it, government departments do like to expand. I can see a certificate now from Consumer Affairs, which is a ghost certificate, a Ghostbusters certificate.
A ghost disclosure, Phil, a ghost disclosure document.
So I think there's a business opportunity from somebody out there watching GPTV to actually research paranormal, lobby the government, set up a business, Ghostbusters, Ghost Finders, Ghost something or others, and it'll become a document in the Section 32. And when that happens, Gary, God help us all, I'm getting out of real estate.
You're not going anywhere, Phil, because you're unemployable and you wouldn't know how to do anything else, let's face it. So you're not going anywhere. Anyway, anyone got any comments about the ghosts? Have you had a ghost? I've got a good ghost story, Phil. I'm going to share it, but not right now. I'm going to bring it back because it's a spooky one that will make the hair on your arms stick up, Phil.
Well, Gary, let's move on from this. The only thing that I do want to make, the point that there is, the media do watch GPTV. If anything has come out of this whole story that we've been running on GPTV about ghosts and or street signs, one thing that's become very clear is that well-known journalists from all of the different mastheads and the television stations do watch GPTV and do unashamedly pinch our ideas.
Well, not totally unashamedly, because we have heard from them about it, Phil. But we may well have.
We did get an apology, didn't we?
We did get a call and an apology. It was all a bit tongue-in-cheek, but we will have one of those journalists perhaps come onto the show. We'd like to invite them to, Phil, because I think that would be great. And it would certainly tell us a little bit about what's happening in the world of real estate, to get somebody who is not just two salespeople talking, but actually a professional journalist. Phil,
you know, I reckon, Gary, if we can get enough journalists on the show making an apology for plagiarising Gary Pure & Associates GPTV, sooner or later, Rupert Murdoch, Lachlan Murdoch, somebody important, we'll get our own show, Gary, that is actually paid for significantly. This is our exit strategy to the business.
Talking about that also, Phil, I want to know if the viewers would like us to speak to some of the people from Lux, the show Lux Real Estate, Phil, I think it's called. It's called Lux Property or Lux Real Estate.
It should be called Real Estate Porn, Gary, because I've got to tell you, the people, the cars, the houses, the views, it's just sexy as, isn't it? And it's got a huge following.
Disturbs me that you call it that way, Phil. Being the conservative person that I am, I have to move away from such terms and language, but I understand the point. But, you know, we've got the opportunity to get one of those people on the show, so I think we'll do that as well. Lots going to happen on the show, Phil, but you enjoy your coffee. I'll get on with the review of the properties that are due to go to auction this week, that may go to auction, that may be Zoomed, that may be postponed or may be sold before. But let's talk about these properties, Phil. Before we do, got some feature properties.
You keep interrupting. You keep introducing the segment of showing the properties. Then you keep interrupting yourself with something else to talk about.
No, Phil, you're interrupting me, interrupting myself now. Phil, I want to talk about a few properties that aren't scheduled for this week, but a bit later. But I've got to say, there's a beautiful period home, Phil, that I think represents great value. It's at number 3 Glencoe Street, Caulfield North, Phil. I do have a bit of a bias for that address, as you know.
But in the interest of transparency, shame on you for talking about property just to pump up the value of property in your own street. We're going to have an apology right at the start of the show.
No way. 3 Glencoe Street, Phil. This is a very, very lovely 4-bedroom home. We're talking about it somewhere in that sort of mid ones, maybe a little beyond. But Phil, this is a beautiful home. Come and have a look at it. Daniel Peer handling it with Maxine Pekarski, a wonderful, wonderful property. Phil, 73 Normanby Road, Caulfield North is another property I just want to draw attention to, because this is a spectacular period home. It's been significantly extended in a great location. And 137 Kooyong Road, Phil. Now, this is an interesting property, and I believe a very interesting vendor has been in residency or ownership of this home for quite some time, which I'm not going to expand on unless you want to, unless it's public knowledge. But
Gary, this is a massive parcel of land, and in the old frontage terms, a 90-foot frontage, which is almost twice the normal frontage of a property in Caulfield. Been in the same family's hands for decades. A great generational, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to secure what I consider to be a parcel of land right in the epicenter of the golden mile of Caulfield North.
Let's go to 10:30. We've got 4 auctions due, Phil. 2 at 54 Narrong Road, Caulfield North. This wonderful one-bedroom apartment, the Simon Redolnik auctions. Irving Avenue, Phil, is at 10:30. Jeremy Rose's auctions this right in the heart of Paran. A great-looking property, a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom. And Phil, we are due to go to Enright Street in Highett. And that's a good address as well, Phil, and a great suburb. It's on the rise.
We do a lot in Highett, Gary. That's a real go-to suburb, a suburb that's undervalued and is going ahead leaps and bounds.
It is indeed, Phil, and you're due to be auctioning that one. Looking forward to that 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, 1 parking space. Phil, I've got 10:30 auction orders in Dandenong Road, although I think this again will be postponed like so many of these, but this is a very, very nice, elevated at the rear of the block, 2-bedroom apartment, 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, with a lovely northern aspect, Phil, in a really nice block of apartment, security block. Phil, at 11:30, we have triple auction action. 13 Cambridge Street, Caulfield North is a home that I know well, and you know it too. You're the auctioneer for this terrific property. It is a beautiful and affordable home in the heart of Caulfield North, just on the cusp of Armadale. Loving this property. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, Phil, and there's parking at the back for 2 cars as well. Looking forward to selling that. High Street Paran, 111-652 High Street Paran, due to go under the hammer at 11:30, Philip. 2 bedroom, 1 bathroom, and 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom. Jeremy Rose's auctions that. Murrumbeena, back in the heartland, Phil, Leo Samuel's heartland, 27 Lura Street. Wonderful property, this one. 4 bedroom, 3 bathroom, Phil. Very excited about it. I'll just keep rolling on. You can join anytime you like, but we've got triple auction action at 12:30 due, 5 at 120 High Street Paran, 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom, Jeremy Rose's auctions at 12:30, the same time as I'm going to be in 1 Lucas Street. Caulfield South, a great looking property. Arlene Joffe has been handling that one, Philip. I'm auctioning, and you are in Fisher Street at the same time in Malvern East, Unit 5 at 30 to 32 Fisher Street, Malvern East. That is on Saturday, Phil, at 12:30. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathroom, parking for 2, and in that low to mid ones represents good value. We are going to be in Warina Road in Carnegie, Philip, at 1:30. It's our only 1:30 auction. You are due to auction it if we're out and about, if we're allowed to auction, if it doesn't get postponed. 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom, 3 parks, and at 2:30, Philip, 12B Clapperton Street, Bentleigh, is being auctioned by Jeremy Rosen's. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, and 2 parking spaces, Phil. So that's a big wrap for Saturday, Phil. On Sunday at 10:30 a.m, I'm going to be auctioning 5 at 333 Orrong Road, St Kilda East, an oversized 2-bedroom apartment right opposite our office, Phil. We've sold in that block before, so excited about that. At 11:30, we have triple auction action planned, Phil. Gerard Street, that single-level villa, you know that block well. This is the front one in that block. I'm sure it's going to be postponed, but still you can get a bit of a look at that. 7 to 750, good buying, good value. 21 Ross Street in Elsternwick, Phil. Leo Samuel auctions that. Very pretty home. Looking forward to that at 11:30 a.m. 3 bedroom, 1 bathroom, and in that very low ones represents great entry price buying value in Elsternwick. Phil, 113 at 5 Alma Road. Jeremy Rose's auctions that. That's going to be at 12:30, but before that, I've skipped 11353 Alma Road. We've got double Alma Road action, Phil, at 11:30 and 12:30. 11 at 353 Alma Road, Caulfield North is 2 bedroom, 1 bathroom, 1 car space in that affordable 550 to 6 range. And of course, we're going to be at 12:30 at 113 at 5 Alma Road, St Kilda. We are looking forward to auctioning that. Phil, Heatherbray Avenue is due to be auctioned Sunday at 12:30, 19B Heatherbray Avenue, 17 to 187 is the range. I'm auctioning that terrific looking home. And Phil, you are going to be in Fairfield Grove on Sunday at 12:30, a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 2-parking space property. And we know that Fairfield Grove is a great address. Our rounding out our 12:30 auctions, Phil, we have got to auction 6 at 874 Glenhuntly Road. Graham Cullen is the auctioneer for this 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom, 1-parking apartment of good value. Triple auction action at 1:30 p.m. Phil, 10 at 3 Hewington Road is booked at the moment, probably be moved like so many others, but a good chance to review this particular property in that mid-5s to 6 or more. Phil, Francesco Street in Bentleigh East, Francesco Street is being auctioned by Leo Samuel. Jack Slater is handling that one. That one goes off 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 1:30 on Sunday. Due to go off him. Carlisle Street, St Kilda, Phil, is at 1:30 on Sunday, 2 at 35 Carlisle Street. Looking forward to that 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, very affordable in that mid to high 5s, early 6s. And Phil, something exceptional. You can share a little bit of enthusiasm and excitement about this because this is as good as it gets. It is due to be auctioned, and that is at 2:30, 441B Glen Ira Road. Can you get a better town residence in Caulfield North than this one?
Well, let's just call it a home. Let's call it for what it is, Gary, because it's massive. It's got everything that opens and shuts. It's got a basement garage complete with a turntable. It has a swimming pool. It has a lift. It has a main bedroom suite either on the ground floor or the first floor. This is a home which we will call the Big Mac of all homes because it's the home with absolutely everything.
52 Teague Street, Caulfield South is being auctioned by Leo at 2:30 p.m. Phil, I've sold this, we've sold this before many years ago, so I know it well. It's a beautiful town residence in a great location. At 3:30, Phil, you're going to be in Remuera Street. That's 1 at 13 Remuera Street, a great location. Good opportunity, this one, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, and 2 parking spaces. I was talking to someone who's interested in this property the other day, Phil. Looks like it will be popular. And at 4:30, it is due to be auctioned, but I think it'll be postponed for a later time. That's 4 Sebastopol Street, Caulfield North. Phil, I've been into this home, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom. It is on a great block of land, parking at the back for 2 cars. And Phil, a great solid brick home. Invest in it, rent it out, improve it, enjoy it, knock it down, but call it yours, Phil, on a wonderful parcel of land in Caulfield North. That's a bit of a wrap, Phil, on all of our auctions due to be up and running this weekend.
Gary, what an incredibly busy weekend that we may or may not have. And how bizarre is it that we call it that way? But that is our lot. That is our life. That is real estate in the year of the COVID lockdown.
It is indeed. 2021, an interesting year, but nothing we can't get used to. You're moving me around your room. Got some nice books there, Phil, in the background there. Have you read any of those? Or they all
read any of them. Fair enough. But I believe my wife has read every one of those.
Sure, yes. Well, fair enough. Well, between you and your wife, you've read all of those books, Phil. Why don't we leave it at that? And that'll make an all-encompassing statement. That's a big wrap on GPTV on this 10th of August, Phil, where we celebrate the birthday of David Kingston. Happy birthday, David, again. And Phil, a big wrap, and that's a big summary of the market that continues to be strong. And does lockdown increase prices? Well, I don't know. You wonder all of a sudden whether it does or doesn't, but we know the market is strong. The clearance rates are good. The offerings are exciting, and it's all happening in the wonderful world of real estate. That's it from me. Anything to add there from you, Mr. Kingston?
No, Gary, have a fabulous week all. We look forward to seeing you next week. I'm Philip Kingston.
I'm Gary Peer. We'll see you next week on GPTV. Stay safe and well. Thanks for watching.